Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. Do you wish you could approach that attractive person across the way, but worried you'll be shut down or say the wrong thing? Or what about wanting to be in a healthy relationship, but you're scared to put yourself out there? And you might be so concerned about what other people think and feel that you stop yourself from doing something you secretly desire. And consequently, you don't progress in your life, which could include in your love life. And this is how you might be getting in your own way. Self-sabotage happens to everyone, and it happens when you are holding on to feelings of fear, guilt, or shame around achieving your goals and your dreams. And so it's important to understand that most forms of self-sabotage, by the way, are often unconscious, meaning you don't even know that you're doing it to yourself. And you think that something or someone else is keeping you from having what we want. But the answer is, ready for it? You, right? It often stems from you. And it comes from messages a lot that you received growing up. And it could be bad experiences that scarred you, a dysfunctional family system. And the self-sabotage then serves as a coping mechanism that is used to deal with stressful situations and past traumas. So I just got back from my co-ed dating retreat, and it was amazing to hear people's stories and how the negative messages they received growing up were impacting their dating life. It was really powerful, and a lot of people were breaking down, both the men and the women. And there was one particular woman who experienced a lot of negative messages from her mom growing up and just didn't receive a lot of attention. And she was basically told to just buckle up and do it yourself. And so she would just hunker down, go into her room and figure things out. And she also experienced significant losses, including the death of her husband and her best friend. So she was finding herself keeping people, and that included men, at a distance to protect herself from getting ridiculed, hurt. But mostly she was really scared of that abandonment because she had a lot of that. And so what I saw at the retreat was that she basically had her boxing gloves on. She's this lovely woman who I know has this heart of gold, but the exterior became really rough. And so people were a little intimidated by her. She didn't do a lot of smiling, but when she softened and she tapped into her feminine power and allowed people to really feel her as she leaned into her vulnerability, people saw a whole different side of her. And she kind of broke down and she realized that she had been using this as her love shield, basically, that she was protecting herself because really inside she didn't want to do it. She was just scared. And she just blossomed just even in the 3 days that we saw her. And we just had our last class and she said, okay, I guess this stuff works, because she went to a bar and she got hit on by 3 men. This is the power of when we kind of are able to let things go and allow ourselves to really be in ourselves, is when we really get out of our own way. And so in order to do that, know that anything you want in life starts and it ends with you. And the faster you recognize this, the faster you can begin asking yourself questions about why you are in your own way. So with me today is a very special man and friend, dear friend, who is going to help me talk about how to get out of your own way and shape the love life you desire. He is the personal discovery architect, the visionary and creator of Sculpting Your Life. The Sculpting Your Life experience is a personal discovery process that awakens you to the truth that you are the greatest obstacle to your success. And over the last 15 years, he has designated just all these processes. He's the most talented guy. I can't even keep up with him, to empower people to reset, rewire, and recode their supermind for success. And he does this by helping them identify the mind traps that sabotage them on a daily basis. He has spoken and shared stages with really big folks like and spiritual leaders, including Jack Canfield, the Dalai Lama, and Mark Victor Hansen, just to name a few. He was also, a little tidbit about him, Pink Floyd's tour manager. He overcame a drug addiction and he wrote the very famous advertising song, Have You Driven a Ford Lately? I totally remember that. Welcome, Paul Hoffman.
Kim, it's so beautiful to be here. I'm getting goosebumps. I got goosebumps just
Oh my
listening
God.
to
Well,
you,
now I
darling.
have goosebumps.
It's so beautiful to be here and be with you and to hear you and to really deepen this beautiful relationship that we've created together, you and myself and my beautiful partner, Condora, who you know extremely well, and just to hear your brilliance about creating relationships and how people can actually live their epic ideal life, which is what I call it, by just simply getting out of their own freaking way. Because as you mentioned, the biggest obstacle to success. Now, success could, is not a word that when I say it, I don't mean it's like, money success or business. Success in life could be business, relationships, spiritual, personal, mental, physical, whatever it might be, is you. And see, once you learn how to get out of your own way, then you get to sculpt the masterpiece known as you, because everybody is born a masterpiece and everybody is continued to be a masterpiece. But what happens is along the way, and you mentioned this in your opening, is, we start to listen to those little small voices. I call them your little voices of negativity that start to tell you you're not enough. You will never manage, you'll never be enough, or whatever it might be. And then all of a sudden you start believing that stuff. And all of a sudden you start waking up every day and living a life that's actually not a life that you want to live, but it's actually a life that somebody else is encouraging you to live. And the truth of the matter is, it's been my experience that anybody that tells me to do something, I run away from. Unless, of course, I trust and I believe and I know how authentic they are, because I like to play life by my rules. Okay, and in relationship, that's why I love what you do, Kim. I love what you do because, listen, I've been married twice. Okay, my first marriage was 8 months. That's another story we can get into at some point if you want, because I'm
Another podcast.
My second marriage was 16 years. Okay, and I'm still actually very good friends with my ex-wife, second wife. Not so much my first wife, because she actually experienced me through the darkness and the throes of my drug addiction, and so I can't really fault her for that. Okay, and I can't really fault me for that. It just happened. But the whole idea of when you're in a relationship, relationships are very, very, very they could be challenging, they can be inspiring, they can be empowering. But my vision or my version or my interpretation of relationship is, whenever you're in a relationship with somebody, whoever it might be, whether it's romantic, business, whatever, friendship, whatever, it's an opportunity for you to get to look at yourself. And once you're able to look at yourself, and based on your behavior in a relationship, now listen, man, I am no day at the beach all the time, but I am a day at the beach most of the time. Okay. And it's all those times that I'm not a day at the beach that I get to look at my behavior, how I show up, what I bring into a situation, whether I'm triggered and so forth and so on, all the stuff that you teach. And but again, getting back to the core thing that you were talking about, which is, you know what, love will show up for you once you get out of your own way.
I love so much of what you said. And I just wanted to pause for a second because, as you were like sharing your story, and the thing that just lands with me is this whole notion of like sculpting your life and how we can make it a masterpiece. Because to me, that's where the empowerment is. I think so many times people fall victim to, well, woe is me. Why do things happen to me? Or, they blame other people, other circumstances, other things. And what you're saying and I believe is true too, is that actually you have the power to change that, shift that, and actually make it something positive for yourself. And I mean, and you shared a little bit about like you had some dark moments, and if you don't mind, I'd love to hear just how you kind of rose from the ashes, so to speak, from those dark moments, because I know a lot of people are in that, and they find it hard to even like be able to envision a new sculpture.
Absolutely. Well, the interesting thing about, and I'll tell you all the darkness, and because you can't have light unless there's darkness, and you can't have light unless there's darkness. I
Oh,
mean,
true.
we know how that all works. So everything that happened to me. So I was a very, very successful jingle writer. I'm a self-taught musician. I write songs through all these big personal development people. I got a brain technology that's been downloaded by more than 3 million people. I'd be happy to give anybody that's listening to this access to it. No problem. I'm not asking for money. It will change your life. But the whole idea of why I went into the darkness of a cocaine addiction is there's two things. One, it was a lot of fun, Kim. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of freaking fun until it wasn't. Okay.
Right.
But years later, after they put me in a straitjacket on November 14th, 1988, I had a psychotic reaction to my drug addiction and my all other addictions. So they put me in a straitjacket and sent me to the 14th floor psych ward of St. Vincent's Hospital in New York City. You ever been in a straitjacket?
I have not been in one, but I've worked with people in one. So I used to work on a psych ward, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. It's very uncomfortable to be in a straitjacket.
Yes.
And the metaphor in the straitjacket is you can put yourself in a straitjacket, a metaphorical straitjacket, in any relationship that you're in. Or you can be free and show up as who you are and bring your best self to everything that you're doing, which then will encourage your partner, whatever that might look like, to do the same. Because at the end of the day, when you're in a relationship, either you're going to lift each other up or you're going to tear each other down. I call it my life's either or principle. Either you're going to do it or you're not. There is no gray area. Okay. So I, very successful, self-taught musician. I wrote "Have you driven a Ford lately?" or "Have you driven a Ford lately?" Whatever melody you want to sing, right? Made millions of dollars in the jingle business. One of the top guys doing it, and every day when I went to do it, I felt I was a fraud because I was a self-taught musician. Wow. Now I'm working with Philharmonic string players. I'm in New York at the time. I'm working with musicians like, if you've ever watched the David Letterman show, all those guys, Paul Schaefer, Willie, all those guys were personal friends of mine. They all played on my jingles. Michael Bolton sang on my jingles. Okay. All these famous people, I worked with all these famous people doing jingles, but I felt like I was a fraud because I couldn't even write a note of music. I couldn't write a note of music, paper-wise. I couldn't read a note of music paper-wise, but I could play. I could play enough to be dangerous, is what I like to tell people. And so every time I would be in a studio and producing something, and sharing my composition with like a Paul Schaefer, for instance, who played piano for David Letterman, I'd play him and I'd say my subconsciously or unconsciously, that little small voice of negativity would pop up and go, "This guy must really think you don't know what the hell you're talking about. This guy must really think you're a fraud because he's a consummate musician, Paul, and you're not."
Wow.
Self-worth issues. Self-worth issues are behind everything, even in relationship. When you talk about people, that woman you talked about in the beginning of this podcast, it's all self-worth issues. It's it's all about abandonment. Okay, it's like, okay, I'm gonna tell these guys how to do this, and all of a sudden they're never gonna want to work with me again. So all that stuff. So what did I do? I snorted as much cocaine as I could. Right? I drank as much vodka as I could to level it off. I all this stuff, really, really destructive behavior. But for years I was a functioning, destructive behavior human being. Okay. I certainly wasn't sculpting the masterpiece known as me. All right. I was actually sculpting the ruins that, if I kept on that path, would have been who I ended up being. But luckily, through fate and through source and God and spirit, I was able to turn all that stuff around. But it was all about self-worth issues. So after I had the psychotic reaction, November 14th, 1988. I woke up. I was in the full-blown DTs, which is addicted to alcohol and everything else, and I was able to be put into a straitjacket, sent to the 14th floor psych ward, and then that was it. But it was going on for many, 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 many years. And so what happened was I finally realized after that all episode happened, and after I went to my third rehab, okay, and detox, and actually finally realized, okay, man, that's not going to work anymore. That kind of behavior and that kind of lifestyle is not going to work anymore. And so I ended up getting much more connected to who I was. My spiritual growth was actually very much heightened. And I actually started to walk down a path where I realized that I didn't need anything out there to tell me who I was. What I needed to connect what was in here and cultivate that and develop that so I could live who I truly am. Because, Kim, you know what? There ain't nobody on the planet like you. There ain't nobody on the planet like me. And there's nobody on the planet like all these people that are listening to this podcast. We're all unique. And what happens is we all start to somehow we shy away from the uniqueness of who we are. For some reason, we're not happy with it, or somebody told you you're not, whatever conversation you listen to that tears you down is what becomes your reality. Okay. And then, so I ended up working on myself. I left New York. I was married at the time, moved to California, kind of reinvented myself, got involved in a spiritual community out here, and really worked on Paul, who is Paul. Now, I'm a work in progress. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Because if things were perfect, I'd have nothing to work on. So I don't want anybody listen to this thing going, wow, this guy's got it all together. I don't. But I'm on the road to making my life what I want it to be, and attracting the people into my life who help me and empower me to be okay with me.
That is amazing.
Because when you're okay with you,
then
you could be okay with everything else that's around you. Okay. Now, are things always going to be, hunky dory or whatever? Absolutely not. Challenges are given to you so that you get to up-level your life. You get to really create a new paradigm for yourself. And most people are afraid of challenges because maybe they don't know how to solve them. Whatever conversation that they tell themselves. But the truth of the matter is, the strongest people in the world got there through adversity. Okay. Yeah. The most successful people on the planet and the best relationships. I mean, when you hear about people being married for 40 years, some people would go 40 years. Oh my God, 40 years. Well, maybe, just maybe, they have this kind of relationship that is so enduring and so loving and so special that, you know what, man, they look forward to 41. Now they're looking forward to 42, and so forth and so on. So all that stuff, again, you said this in the opening too. Everything in your life is created by you.
Bam.
Some thought you have, some belief you have, it's all created by you. So once you learn how to clear out what I call mind traps. I call them mind traps because, and Kim knows this, I like to invent my own language. Sometimes it gets me in trouble, sometimes it doesn't. I don't really care. Okay. The truth of the matter is I'm looking to create my own noise. There's a lot of noise out there. I want to create my own noise. I'm going to brand it as my noise. You can either listen to it or not. I don't care. Okay. Because I don't do it for you.
Before you get into the mind traps, because I want to hear this, because this is kind of the next thing. Going back, because I love the bridge that you talked about from the moment that you decided to, be in that dark place in the jacket to reinventing yourself. What motivated you? Because I think that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of times people want that new life, right? And they'll might be listening to this and be like, I want to be like him. But like, what motivated you to really like turn the corner?
Well, I mean, simply, I was living a life that if I kept down that road, I
Mhm.
wouldn't be talking to you today. Okay.
Ah,
All right. But the motivation was, you know what? I don't have to do that. I don't have to live that kind of life. I don't have to believe that I'm not enough. I don't have to have self-worth issues. You know what? I could be okay with who I am. And if I just show up in that, again, it's not going to always be perfect. It's not going to always smell good. Put whatever metaphor you want on it. But the truth of the matter is that there was something in me. There's a switch that went off in me, and it was my connection, I believe, to source, which really got me to understand that, you know what, I have this gift and I have this talent.
mm,
Okay, and
mhm.
I am not living life in a way that expresses that talent, in a way that is empowering and inspiring to me. And if it's not inspiring to me, I'm not gonna be able to inspire you
No, I
or
love that.
anybody else in my circle.
Because that's really important. It's like there was just that moment, and maybe like when you hit total rock bottom where you made a choice, like there was a decision to be made. And I think that's, also having like the resources and help around you to like lift you up, and move you towards that light. So that's really important. And then I also wondered, then we'll get into the mind traps. But like, when was there a difference in the relationships you were attracting when you were in, kind of that the dark place and drinking a lot and cocaine versus after? And I'd love to just hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, when I was in the throes of cocaine, I mean, cocaine was big in the music business back then. This is now
Yeah.
the 80s, if you will. Everybody was doing cocaine. Not everybody, but a lot of people were doing cocaine. So I was attracting relationships of people who were doing cocaine. Because if I didn't have any cocaine and you did, I definitely wanted to be in your circle. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And vice versa. But I was attracting dark people, dark kind of situations, staying up late at night, going out 2 in the morning, doing all this crazy shit. Okay. And then running a business that, multi-million-dollar jingle business, but running it on kind of fumes, if you will, like
Yeah.
threads, if you will. Okay. I mean, I would miss meetings. I mean, the people who work with me, who loved me, they wanted to do an intervention. And I said, listen, if you want to do an intervention, then why don't I fire you? Okay. And you can go do an intervention to somebody else. Now that was my
Wow.
attitude. So I was a real, I think I could use this word. I was a real prick. Okay.
Yeah.
And, and all they wanted to do, they loved me. They just loved me and they didn't want me to kill myself. Okay. Not physically kill myself, but just my
Yeah.
behavior, if you will. And so yeah, so that was so once I turned the corner, once I kind of gave up that life, and trust me, it was not easy to give up that life. I mean, I had some dramatic things happen, straitjacket, rehabs, um, health issues, all sorts of stuff. But once I turned that corner and I realized that, wow, I just don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to live that kind of life anymore to have the kind of life that I really want to have. And so, as I said, I got involved with the spiritual community in Los Angeles. There was a spiritual center called Agape. Because I was raised Catholic, but I'm not religious. I mean, those Catholics, boy, they're crazy people, kidding. But anyway, I was but so I joined the spiritual community. So spirituality and that kind of thing was really a cornerstone and an anchor for me. And that's where I kind of understood the whole concept of, everything in my life is a direct result of something that I do, create, think, and believe.
Mhm.
And if I want to think and believe and so forth that I need to be a certain way to have what I want, and if I am that way and I'm not getting what I want, then it just stands to reason I should change so I could think about what I really do want and then go towards that. Now, of course, as everyone knows, change is painful. because we're human beings and we want stuff now. I want it now. Well, sometimes it ain't going to come now because the universe gives it to you when you're ready. Okay?
Well, I know one changes in a state of comfort. You only really change
exactly
uncomfortable. So to your point,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And so once I did that, then I started to attract other people in my life who were more in tune, or tuned in is what I like to call it, tuned into who I was. I was more tuned into what they were, and I was tuned into attracting those kinds of people in my life. Okay. And, I mean, I've always wanted to be in a relationship with a goddess, and I've attracted a goddess. Now, is every day a day at the beach? No, but I've been given the opportunity to work on my shadows and my faults and all that stuff, which I have. I got flaws coming up the wazoo. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, that's because you spend a little more time with me. You did know that. Don't lie. Okay. But anyway, but the truth of the matter is that, you know what? It's it's freeing.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. Now, again, as I say, guys, I mean, every day, I mean, I'm committed to working on myself, but every day I don't work on myself because there's something that comes up. I get triggered by something, and everything that comes up in my life that's not in alignment with who I want to be and how I want to live my life is a result of some unresolved issue.
Wait. I don't want to lose that point. That's really important because the triggers, I think, is what also derails us from staying on that course, right? Like, because you could be on that path and you're like sculpting and you're creating this beautiful life, and all of a sudden someone will say something to you that will trigger something from the past and it'll derail you. And then you have to do a course correction, right? But unless you are aware of that and you lean into that and then also use that to actually help you get over something that is really necessary, a lot of people do fall backwards. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Absolutely. And it's like, and again, these quote obstacles are put in your path.
Yeah.
To intentionally, because the universe is very intentional. I mean, listen, the butterfly happens intentionally, okay? Starts out as a freaking larva, becomes a caterpillar, becomes whatever it is, and there's a butterfly. Roses come up at the same time every year. An oak tree comes out of an acorn. The universe is intentional. So the universe is going to be intentional with you too. And then when you can listen, see, communication in a relationship, and I know you talk about this in what you do, Kimmy, as well, because you are the relationship genius. Kim Seltzer, ladies and gentlemen, is a genius when it comes to this stuff, and I know this. Okay.
Aww.
And I think you need to know it too, and I'm sure you do. But the universe is very intentional with what it will, where it will steer you when it knows that you're ready to receive that information. But if you think that you can fool the universe, then you know what? If you do, let me know how you do it so I can sell it. Okay. But I don't think that's going to,
let me know how that works for you.
yeah. That's not going to happen. And so after I got, into a different mind state, I call it mind state as opposed to mindset, because I believe your mind state creates your mindset, because your state of mind is where you'll go. So once you're able to control how you think and believe, and where you put your attention, and what you want in your life, because it's very important to know what you want, and more importantly, why you want it. Okay, then you can start to develop what I call your personal discovery journey. So the reason I call myself a personal discovery architect is because there's a lot of people out there that are coaches, trainers, bling, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And I know that if somebody wants to develop something in their life, then they first have to discover it. Okay. And so I help people discover what they want to develop, and then I help them architect it. Okay. It's really simple. The real simple.
How do you do that? Like, do you care to share some steps that you help people with to sculpt their lives like that?
Yes, I would love to do that. So again, the most important thing that people want to have in their kind of like life toolkit, if you will, is the realization of what they want in their life and why they want it. So I'll say that's kind of step one. What do you want? Okay. I want to make $1 million. Okay, great. Why do you want it? Okay.
Why?
I want it because maybe I'm going to create a school somewhere, or maybe I'm going to buy 17 houses. I don't care what you want. Whatever you want to do. What you want, why you want it. Okay. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to start to deal with what your mind traps are. Everybody's got mind traps. Okay. That's my word for limiting beliefs. So I've identified like 10 mind traps. Everybody's got it. And I know I've got it. And I'm constantly working on get rid of them. Okay. But they're going to always show up. Okay. Until we resolve them. Because again, what we were saying a minute ago is usually the biggest obstacles and roadblocks that you have or barriers that you have in your life, call them whatever you want to call them, are because of some unresolved issue, which is also why triggers show up as well. And doing the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, doing the same thing, doing something the same, whatever that
Doing something over and over and over again and expecting a different result.
Thank you very much. They're doing the same damn thing, and that's exactly. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. And so what you want, why you want it, but then you want to kind of like look at, I call it a tuning in process. So the first thing you want to do in your life after you kind of got this why you want it and or what you want and why you want it, is the next step you want to do is you want to observe where you are in your life. So in order for you to change something, you need to know where you are.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to change. Change what? What do you want to change? What's not working for you? You want to observe what's not working for you, and then you want to identify why it's not working. Okay, it's a very simple roadmap. Observe, identify why it's not working. Once you identify why it's not working, okay, now you have an idea of what your behavior or thinking or beliefs are that are causing you to identify what's not working or to know what's not working. And once you do that, then what you want to do is you want to reframe that shit immediately. Excuse my language. Reframe it. Okay. So what does reframe mean? That means think differently. Okay. So you reframe that old behavior, those old patterns, those old beliefs into more inspiring and empowering ones. Because the way you talk to yourself is how you're going to live your life. And you are your greatest ally or your greatest enemy, and who knows you better than you? So the way you talk to yourself is what's going to move you from point A to point B in your life, okay? Observe, identify, reframe. Once you reframe, then you're going to pivot into that energy. Then you're going to anchor it. Then you're going to integrate it, and then you're going to activate it. Then you're going to activate it and integrate it, and that's it. That's it. Those 7 steps called tuning in. And so most people want to get to, I don't like the way this is, and they want to jump to step 37, whatever that is, in their life, as opposed to going through the process of actually looking at your life, taking what I call a personal discovery inquiry. Look at who you are, why you are, what's making you tick, and then figure out why you don't like certain things in your life and what you need to do to make it differently. And so there's a whole, it's a little more involved, but there's a whole process that I could take you to, and I call it the 12 dimensions of sculpting the masterpiece known as you. And then what happens is you begin to shed or surrender or let go of all those things that have been like keeping you in this box that you've built. Most people, you talked about it in your thing, in your opening, which was, this whole idea of negative messages and fighting for your mind traps and all that stuff. A lot of people wake up in the morning and they figure how can I protect myself from me?
Yes.
Well,
It's
you
so
know what?
true.
I would stop doing that if I were you. Okay.
Yeah.
So start to live your life, fully express who you are, tune into your gift, because your gift is your gift. I always tell people, you might as well be you because everybody else is taken. I didn't come up with that. I was reminded that I think Oscar Wilde said that. Okay. But don't live your life to the approval of somebody else. You talked about that as well, because a lot of people in relationships, they're people pleasers. People pleasing is going to get you nothing other than people pleasing.
Oh my God.
Nothing.
Yeah. Again, that could be another whole podcast, because that is something that I know a lot of my clients deal with. I love your system. And I think what's so powerful about it is, first of all, it's tangible. It's something that people can really like grip on. And I think what's also important while thinking about all these shifts is, number one, figuring out like what you want, but the why is so important, because I'll get on calls with people and they'll say, "Oh, I want a man, I want a woman." And really their why has to do what society says or what they think they should have, right? Because at the end of the day, most people don't really even want a soulmate at first. They want to learn how to date. They want to learn how to love themselves, but they don't know that going in. And so you
Yeah.
have to get clarity. And the other thing is taking action towards all this
Hmm.
stuff, because you can do all this in theory, but unless you actually take steps in doing things that create that masterpiece, then you're spinning donuts in the road, right? Like there was a woman again at the retreat, just because it's fresh on my mind, and she came in and saying, "I want to know how to be magnetic and sexy and know how to flirt." And I said, "Come here." And we did a role play, right? And I had a
Right.
guy stand up and she stood up, and I said, "This is how you walk, this is how you talk, this is how you look." And she did it. And I said, "You want to know what is sexy? What is flirting? You just did it." And everyone clapped. And, and so guess what happened? The rest of the retreat, she was walking down the street. She was getting asked out left and right. She's like, "Oh, men are looking at me finally." I'm like, "Yeah, because the only thing that was stopping you before was you, because you had the shield on, you had blinders on." So again, like all
Yeah.
of this is like so powerful. And like in theory, like we can all talk about getting in your own way or self-sabotage, but really understanding fundamentally what this is just super, super awesome. So Paul, thank you so much. Like I could like, again, I'm like looking at the time, like, oh my gosh, I could go on and on with you. Do you have any like parting words of wisdom that you would like to share? I know you have a lot of gold nuggets, but also like where people can find you.
Um, so my parting wisdom would be, a couple of things. First of all, first is, if you're looking to really, really create beautiful, loving relationship in your life, I'd listen to Kimmy if I were you. Yeah, that's number one. Okay, and I'm serious. I don't say that because
Oh,
she's a dear friend of mine, but I know her energy. I know who she is. I know where she comes from. She comes right from the heart. Okay, she's unconditional love personified. So that's number one. Number two is, listen, if when you wake up in the morning, you know, have a ritual. I have a morning ritual. Okay, so I try to spend I don't do this all the time, but I try to. Try to spend the first hour of my day on me, because I need to set myself up every day. Because every day is a new day. Every day you are given a blank canvas that you get to sculpt any way you want to. Right? Either you can sculpt it in a inspiring and empowering way, or you can do the same old crap. So at the end of the day, you're going, "Geez, why hasn't my life changed?" Because you're not doing anything different. Okay. So when you wake up in the morning, figure out a way for you to empower yourself to create whatever you need to create, and focus in on what it is you want to create today, not tomorrow, because tomorrow's not here yet. And yesterday's already gone. So just learn the freaking lesson from yesterday and apply it. Okay. Get up and create an amazing day. I write this thing every morning called Good Morning, Great Day. Stream of consciousness. Today's title was Knock 'em Alive and All You Do. Okay. And just go out there and just be you, and really, really, really be okay with that. Be okay where you are in your life. Okay. And if you're not happy, then just, you can change it. Kim just talked about taking action. So there's this great little concept called the law of attraction. You probably all heard about it. Well, here's what they forget to tell you about the law of attraction. It's one thing to sit there and go, big house, $1 million, big house, But unless you take action, nothing's going to happen. One step in front of the next, okay? Fall down, make mistakes. Who cares? But take action. So if you do that, okay, then what's going to happen is at the end of the day, you're going to look back at yourself and you're going to, okay, I did this, I did that, I could do this better. I call highlights and insights. Figure out what your highlights are for the day. Those are things you've done well, and what your insights are. Don't focus on what you didn't. Oh, I didn't do this, and now you're in negativity. Focus on the insights that you can make into highlights. Always be empowering with yourself. Always have conversations with yourself that empower you. Okay, because listening, as Kim knows, listening is probably the most important part of relationships. Okay, it's one thing to be a really smooth talker. Okay, and sometimes, I look at myself and go, man, you're a really good talker, bro. Yeah, well, that 50 cents will get me on the subway. But if I'm a good listener, then I'm actually in the conversation. Okay, as opposed to being outside the conversation. So be a good listener, and just, do whatever you got to do to look at where you are buying into the crap that you keep telling yourself, and change the conversation. And then just go out and have fun and love life. And if you want to love somebody or whatever it is, you want love in your life, the most important thing about that is, if you don't love yourself, self-love is required to have love. Because your environment, your environment is what determines your environment. All right.
Damn.
So make sure your environment is the masterpiece not as you. And other than that, where can you reach me? So I always do this on podcasts. People tell me I'm crazy, but I love to be crazy. My cell phone number is 323-810-5588. 323-810-5588. Feel free to call me anytime you want. If I don't pick up, you're going to love my message. I have people call my phone and tell me not to pick up because they love my message. Okay? You're going to love my message. And if I can help you in any way, I will. My personal email is Paul Hoffman, my name, the number 24, which is my number in my basketball jersey. Paul Hoffman 24@gmail.com. Send me an email if I can help you in any way I can. Just in the subject line, just say heard you on Kimmy or whatever it might be. And then you can go to sculptingyourlife.com and look at some of the stuff that I do from my trainings, my songs, that I've written for many people, and my brain technology. But again, the reason you're on this podcast and the reason that you are working with Kim Seltzer is because there's more to life than what you have right now and how you've been living it. And so, you know what? Since you know that, then just fucking go out and do it. And that's my advice.
Is that all? Oh my gosh, Paul, thank you. I actually have one last request. Ask.
Yes.
I have this now secret desire to have a jingle.
Okay.
Maybe we could even end up playing it when this episode airs. How cool would that be? Something about love and something about getting out of your own way.
Okay. Why don't you and I talk about that? And you know what? Since I love you as much as I love you, I'm sure we can figure something out. Absolutely.
It'd be fun. Paul, I love you. I adore you. Thank you so much for sharing everything you did. And thank you for joining me today, you listening. This has been the Charisma Quotient, and I'm your host, of course, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And if you want to know more, make sure you go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com. And if you are getting in your own way of your love life, just hop on a call with me and we will talk about ways to get out of that and really map out a plan so that you can create the life that you deserve. Just click the link you see in the show notes and book that. And remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.